Thank you all so much for being here today. Mi nombre es Mrs. Bravo. I am Mrs. Bravo. I'm one of the school counselors here. And today we're going to be doing our first part of our student success series brought to you by the counseling department. So we will go ahead and get started. And to introduce the counseling department, are ourselves. I am the parent liaison, so you will hear from me mostly throughout this presentation. And here's my contact information. But then we have our counselors for different grades. So I am TK through second grade, and I work with the lower school kiddos. And with me, we also have Miss Leon. If you'd like to introduce.
Hi. I'm Mrs. Leon. I am the school counselor for grades 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and I'm so excited that you're here with us today.
And hi, I'm Mrs. Haro. I am doing 6th through 8th grade. Happy to be here tonight with you guys.
Yes, again, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your days to be here during this presentation. I really hope that you all find it useful. And if you do have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. Estoy practicando mi español y por eso estoy usando los subtitles, translations down there. Pero si tienes preguntas, aquí nuestro consejeras podemos ayudarte. Okay. So today's goals.
Today's goals we work on understanding factors that go into student success. Missing out on school learning, learning more about that.
Coming to school on time is important. Knowing types of absences. Your school is your partner in your student success. So we're going to also share how we are here to partner with you.
I'm sorry, were you guys able to hear her?
No, the
okay.
audio was a little strange.
Yeah, the audio was off. Do you want to go?
Is mine not working?
There.
Oh, you can hear me now? Yay for technology. All right, I will start over. My apologies. So our goals today are understanding factors that go into school success. We're going to talk about missing out on school and how that means you're missing out on learning. We're going to talk about coming to school on time and why it's important, knowing types of absences, and we are your partner in your student success. So we're going to talk more about that today.
Thank you, Ms. Leon. So we do have our first thinking question. Ms. Haro, if you'd like to lead us into that one.
Sure. There are many barriers that our families face on a daily basis that we as a school may not be aware about. So really this presentation is to try to understand some of the needs that you may have, and also so that you can understand our perspective as well, and for us to work together. So the question right now is, what barriers are you facing that might affect your student success? And so there's a chat feature, you can throw it in the chat. And then you can also communicate that at any time throughout the year with us. Anytime that a barrier may come up, you can talk to us and access us at the school.
Yeah, and some barriers that I'm thinking about that are coming up would be COVID-19 and the coronavirus and how that's affecting our students and our families, you all, and also maybe transportation issues. So later on in the presentation, you'll see some barriers that we've pointed out and that we've been seeing, but if you'd like to throw any in the chat, please do so. So here we have the compulsory education law. So that leads us into what the federal law states about education and attendance. But it states that every parent or guardian or other person having the responsibility of a student between the ages of 6 and 18 are required to send their student to school. So if they're the parent or guardian of a student at a school, it is a requirement to attend. School attendance is mandated by laws and regulations of the state. And that kind of leads us into our school's attendance policy. So I grabbed this right from the Feaster Handbook of this year, and it states that in accordance with the California Department of Education, the school is mandated to notify a student's parent or guardian if that student's attendance record shows any combination of the following: 3 unexcused absences, 3 unexcused tardies over 30 minutes, and 3 unexcused early dismissals without valid excuse that are also equating to over 30 minutes. So in general, studies do show that there is a direct correlation between school attendance and student achievement. So what that means is that there is something to be found when you look at attendance and when you look at the students that are succeeding in their education. Therefore, parents should reinforce the importance of good attendance, and students should attend school every day, except in certain unavoidable circumstances, such as illness or death in the family. And there is also that aspect of being mandated to quarantine. So if the school is calling you and letting you know that your student cannot come back to school because they were in close contact or for any reason pertaining to COVID, then that's also an unavoidable circumstance. And if you have been in that situation, like I know many of our families have, then you're aware that our school is trying our best to keep our kiddos engaged when they're not in the physical classroom for those reasons. And we give packets, and the counseling center hosts really fun game clubs or Disney Club. And we also have, what was the third one? Art club. So each of us hosts a different club, and that's on different days of the week. And it's really fun, but it's one of our ways that the counseling department is hoping to keep kiddos engaged if they're unable to come to school because of that mandatory quarantine. And for those of you who are just entering, thank you so much for being here. My name is Mrs. Bravo. I know my name says Arce. Just got married, so changing it. But we have our counseling department here. We have Miss Haro, who is our 6th through 8th grade counselor, and we have Miss Leon, who is 3 to 5th, and I work with TK through 2nd grade. What you missed is just about talking about the importance of attendance and our school's policy on attendance and how we are here to help see your student succeed. So we're so thankful for you being here today. And with that, we'll continue on with the presentation. So here's a video. We'll see if it works. It's a pretty good video about the importance of attendance. And if it doesn't, then I did put the links right here. And maybe if someone's able to type that in the chat, and that would be great. But let's take a look and see if this one works. Well, I don't want to waste too much of your time. It might not, but if you would like to check out these videos, they're 6 minutes long. It's 6 minutes long. It's in English and in Spanish. And for some reason, as I'm clicking it, it's not coming up as a video. But it's basically just reinforcing how parents see education and how parents see attendance and what students think about attendance and how the administration and staff and teachers think about it. But I'll give you a funny annotation. But I work with students on attendance right now. We all host different small groups. And I asked my students, what's the best reason to come to school? And it was so funny when one of them said, the food is amazing. I love coming to school for the food. So that made me so happy because I know we have such an amazing lunch staff, cafeteria staff. So I will definitely let them know that our students come to school just to eat lunch. But with that, when you miss school, you do miss out. And that's kind of what that video is talking about. So in general, going to school every day helps your child build reading and math skills, feel prepared for the next day, having more chances to practice new skills, and in general, just feel prepared for the next school year. I tell my little kiddos that attendance and education are kind of like building blocks. We all know when you learn something in 1st grade, it's not like it goes away. It just gets added on every year until you graduate high school. So being able to attend school every single day is just a building block to your education and a part of your life. So that's kind of how I talk about it with my kids, my students that I work with. And thank you so much, Heather, for putting those links in the chat. I just took a look at that. Thank you. Thank you. For those of you just joining, you are, we're so thankful for you to be here. So we'll definitely have this recorded presentation shareable and able for you to view in case you want to go back and see what you missed. So going back to that premise of when you miss school, you miss out. This is a really good example of those educational milestones that students will have. So by the end of elementary school, elementary students are able to read well. And I know the transcripts are probably blocking it for you, but students are able to read well by the end of 3rd grade is what it says. And then for middle schoolers, once you graduate or pass, promote to past middle school, you're able to pass important courses and see the importance of different courses that you're learning. And then for high school, going to school every single day will help you stay on track for graduation. And then that goes on to different post-secondary options. Doesn't have to be college, but if you do choose college, then you going to school and working on attendance and going every day will help you earn your degree. And let's say you choose to go into the workforce, then that will help you succeed in your job if you do get that reinforcement of attendance and how important it is to be there. This is actually a really cool analogy, and it states that attendance is kind of like a school train. And this is bringing it back to the basics, but it's a great analogy because you can picture going to school as if you're on a train. So all of the children are in the first car, let's say, and maybe a student has to be absent for some reason. The train does not stop, and it still has students in the train who are moving along with it as it goes by. But every time that the student has a few school absences, they hop off of that train for a little bit, and then they get back on. But the thing is that the train is always moving. The train doesn't stop. So every time the student hops off to miss a few days of school, then their classmates are on that train and they're still learning new things without them. But I do want to kind of bring it back to that COVID consideration, because when your student is required to miss school for a mandatory quarantine, or maybe they're sick and they have to miss school because of their own illness, we know that the attendance office gives teacher or students packets, and those packets have really important information to keep them on track. So maybe your child had to miss school because of COVID and that train is still moving, but if they have those packets and they're still being engaged and they come to our clubs, in case you missed it, the counseling department hosts 3 clubs a week: art club, game club, and I host Disney club, my favorite. Then they're still being engaged and they're still having that buy-in to school and remembering, I may not be at school, but I want to be there and I can't wait to go back, and I'm going to work on these assignments so that when I get back, I don't feel like I miss so much. And that's kind of the whole point and what we're trying to instill in all of our kiddos. So it's really important that they do feel that way too. So here's actually a really cool way to see it. So we have our range of what is a chronic absence to what is good attendance. But we'll go into the definition of a chronic absentee, which is defined as a pupil who is absent on 10% or more of the school days of the year. So going into the graph, it's a little off, but I wanted you to kind of get a visual presentation. But what you can just remember is 10% or more of the school year. So you can see a range of good attendance, which in general is less than 1 absence every month, all the way to chronic absence, which is 4 absences each month. So you can kind of get a sense of, in general, what is considered a good absence and what is considered to be chronic absences. Again, with COVID considerations, this is not being absent for those reasons do not fall into this category, because letting the school know is how we can make sure that we're not defining your student in that chronic absenteeism. Ms. Leon.
All right, now that I'm unmuted, how does being late to school affect your child? So being late does make students stressed. We see that oftentimes. When they're late, they're a little stressed out. They seem a little bit like they don't have everything they don't feel like very put together, and it could also affect their anxiety levels. And it also includes students missing learning time and instruction. So that's really important to just consider. I know sometimes we think 10 minutes doesn't take a lot of time, but if you are late 10 minutes a day, that up to a week, that adds up to 30 hours of instruction time. So just being really mindful that it doesn't seem like a lot of time in the moment, but over time, that is really important instruction time, and it does affect them educationally as well as socially and emotionally. They feel stress and anxiety levels. So we just want to be mindful of being late and trying to minimize that tardiness as much as possible. So types of absences, we have excused. So these would all fall under the excused category. COVID symptoms, mandatory quarantine, if you're feeling sick of any kind, and then death of an immediate family member. These following absences are considered unexcused. Vacation, celebrating a birthday, afraid of bullying, and feeling tired and anxious. So just real quick, the afraid of bullying, if that's something that your student shares with you, please contact the school. Let us know that that is an issue, because that's something that we as the counseling department feel strongly about. And that is something that we are happy to work with you and your student on, because we want them here and we want them to feel comfortable and safe. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And we also just want to mention, please try to schedule doctor's appointments outside of school hours whenever possible. Just remember kind of going into how that little time does add up to larger absences.
Oh, can you please unmute Ms. Haro?
All
Our
right.
counseling lead, Ms. Haro.
So there are many ways that we try to support our families and our students on a daily basis. So we just wanted to point out a couple of things that maybe is just not information that you think about on a daily basis, but we did want to make sure that you have this information. Some of the things that we see that can add to absenteeism is some of the things that Ms. Leon already addressed, which is that stress and anxiety. Also, we hear a lot about motivation. He just doesn't want to get up out of bed. She won't leave the house. That bullying situation that Ms. Leon also talked about, any type of peer conflict will turn quickly into a stomach ache, will turn quickly into a headache. Tests that may be coming up that we aren't aware of as parents. The children could be like, oh, I don't feel well, or randomly crying, things like that. And then of course, dealing with grief and loss, especially during these times. These are some of the social emotional needs that the counseling department is trained in to be able to help students cope with these issues and be able to conflict resolution and be able to work through. So we do recommend that if you notice any signs, changes in behavior, any patterns of maybe the student not wanting to come to school when it wasn't typical for them, that's definitely something that you'd want to reach out to us about, so that we can get in touch with your student and make sure that we can help them through whatever the issue is. And then on the other side is, we understand that families have a lot to go through, and that we are not in a bubble, and that school cannot always come first just because of the family situations or the community situations that may be going on. So we want to be mindful and just also let you know that there are services and there are resources for our families to be able to help you not only identify those barriers, but also get in touch with the appropriate community resources so that you don't have to fight those barriers alone. And so some of the things that we see are childcare, having to pick up a child at a certain time and you're at work and you have nobody else to pick them up. So we can do childcare referrals through our family resource centers. Transportation is also sometimes a big issue. My car broke down. We share a car with, my spouse and I share one car. We can't get the kids there on time, or we just can't get the kids there, period. So we can also refer to the family resource center for that. The needs of other family members, students having to go to different schools, which may affect tardiness or other issues, having to pull kids out of class during different schedules. Illness, both chronic and acute, we understand that. And then frequent moves or school changes, just uncertainty with either loss of home, loss of job, and our military families. We understand that these are some of the major concerns. And in any of these situations, Like I said, you are not alone. Please do reach out to the school. We can connect you to the appropriate resources if we don't already have them on campus, so that you can feel supported and so that we can make sure that your student gets here every day on time.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Haro.
Okay, and then just a quick recap for everybody that has joined us or maybe joined a little bit late. This is what we talked about today. We talked about understanding the factors that go into school success, and that today's focus was mainly attendance and having your student be here and present. We also talked about how missing out on school means missing out on learning, especially, and that includes tardiness. We don't want to miss any instructional time. Every minute of instructional time right now is precious and so important that all of our kids are here all the time. Knowing the types of absences, that quinceañeras are not going to count as an excused absence, and that really you call in those absences to our front office to make sure that if it is an excusable absence, we are able to do that, get that paperwork out to you, and make sure that the kids stay connected when they're at home, especially right now during the quarantine periods, isolation periods, or whatnot. And that you remember that Feaster is here for you, your counseling department is here for you. So in whatever barriers you may face, you can connect with us and we will make sure to get you the appropriate resources. The final piece. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's fine. You're good. Next.
Well, that does bring us to the end of our presentation. And with that, if anybody has any questions at all, if you are just joining us, we will have this, it's already recorded. We will make sure that it gets to you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to throw it in the chat, or if you'd like to unmute yourselves. Si podemos hablar español, si tienes preguntas, aquí estamos. También voy a poner nuestra información, números y correo electrónicos, aquí están. Si quieres tomar foto y luego si quieres mandar email, if you want to send an email privately or call us, take a screenshot of this, and we would love to help you. So with that, the floor is yours. And if you don't have any questions, thank you so much for being here today. We are your counseling team. My name is Mrs. Bravo. We have Ms. Haro and we have Ms. Leon, and we are so excited to be working with you this year. If anything comes up, we are here for you. Thank you all so much. Unless you have any questions, stay on. ¿Alguien tiene preguntas? All right. If there are no questions, anybody have any questions?
Ms. Bravo, there's one in the chat.
Gracias por todo. Gracias a usted. All right. Thank you all so much for being here today. If you do have any questions, we'll hang out. All right, I'm going to go back to the question slide. Oh. Yes, we definitely did end early. We wanted to allot for some time for questions. So let's see. Connecting to audio. All right. If you're just joining us, we have concluded our presentation, but some of the big takeaways are about how your counseling center is here to support you. And we really want your students to succeed and be able to come to school every day feeling motivated and engaged and excited. So with that, if you don't have any questions, we will see you next time. And maybe Heather, we can, if they're not here, then we can just.
So immediately following this, we are going to work on posting the recording of this entire presentation. So stay tuned. I put the link to our website in the chat. It's just feaster.cvsd.org. So give me about 15 minutes pending Wi-Fi connectivity, and this will be posted.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.